Thank you very much, Brian. I wish I had you with me in my little room when I was working on these poems. I won't hold you up very long now because you're two very fine poets to come on after me. But I'd just like to say a few words while I have the opportunity. And so I better stay on the script, because when I start wandering off it, I start making a terrible faux pas. So I'd like to thank Professor Brian Arkins for his kind introduction. And as I say, I could have stayed listening to him all afternoon. And I'd like to thank the Mayor of Galway, Councillor Donal Lyons, for coming along and gracing us with, and honouring us indeed with the presence of his office as Mayor of Galway here, and for his fantastic words about salmon and the great work salmon has done here since the 80s, and also his very kind words about Richardsons, Galway's institution here. And so we really appreciate his presence here, honouring both Celeste and Knut and I and salmon. So I want to thank everybody for taking time out on this lovely Saturday afternoon, sunshine, and coming along here for the launch of these 3 new salmon collections by myself, Celeste and Knut. I particularly want to thank my own family. I see my daughter Jane going around there doing her camera thing, and my wife Kerry is here as well, and whom you all know is my mainsail, yes. If I do tend to get blown off course myself a small bit. And I want to thank my friends and colleagues from the various compartments of my life, really, for coming here, and the various scribes and literary folk and artistic folk that I see here, and some from as far afield as Limerick even. And my own companions from my writers group, the Talking Sticks, I see them here as well, Geraldine and everybody else, and friends from Salted Devon Football Club, where I am their official bard in residence, usually around midnight. But and my friends and colleagues from St. Anne's College, and where they're well used to me complaining about the short holidays we get, which doesn't give me any time to do my real work. And Betty and Dervla, and they always ensure that I have the scripts marked anyway in time, whatever, about my musings. And Siobhan before, and Vincent indeed, who took me in when my ship was, to use the metaphor, gone missing. And my friends from NUIG, Celeste being an opposite number of mine in there, and musicians and folk from the music world as well, who play, and thanks to Pete Molyneux, who played so well there. And when all the official proceedings die down, and maybe we have a jar later when the pressure is off, we might have a little bit of music before the World Cup, and
a couple of poems.
And a few poems as well, of course. We won't put down the microphone, and all my friends and relations and everybody here. So a book is a nice thing to hold, as you know, especially when it contains one's own work over a period of time, and as many of you know here. And of course, after the initial pleasure of holding the book, which lasts about 30 seconds, the terror comes in then that it won't be up to scratch. And then the climb continues again, to fail again, and to fail better with the next one, to quote Beckett, yes. And so thanks to Salmon Poetry, our publishers, for having sufficient faith in my work to warrant publication, which is great, and it's an honour I do not take lightly, as I say. Thanks to Tim Richardson here for hosting this gathering in this wonderful hostelry, so full of tradition here and history with its literary connections to Joyce. We're actually standing in the house where the Bodkin house, where Sonny Bodkin lived, who was Nora's first boyfriend, Galway boyfriend, who went on to be the inspiration for Michael Fury in The Dead, as you all know. So this is the actual place he lived, and as the Mayor mentioned, Rita Ann's poem on the plaque outside. So the wonderful tradition started by Tim Richardson, Tom's father, and carried on here today by Tom himself. And so to conclude, I'll just read 3 very short poems two or three very short ones from my collections. And they're, as Brian alluded to, they're love poems, and they're placed and set in the locations all around here. You can have fun trying to pick them out. They're love poems with a ledge rather than an edge. Terrible pun. And two lines to finish out on my own collection. The collection itself tells of a life, not particularly mine, but any life, from the opening lines in the first poem, it is 1964 and the world is his playmate, down to the closing lines at the very end, soon after love-making, the vague fear returns, not of death, but of being left behind. And you can feel it burrowing like a taproot through rain-soaked clay to touch the varnished lid. That's the beautifully uplifting last line. So I'll finish at that, and thanks again for coming, everybody, and great. And I'll just quickly read these three poems to give you a flavour of what's in the book, and I'll hand you back to our MC for the day. So the first poem is called First Dance. Youth awkward, with the cut of a blackguard, a pitched beggar in a psychedelic shirt, arriving at your side, tongue in a hangman's knot. The first dance, a tumble of lurchings and foot-buckling Highland flings. You fled, but circled, cornered later for the slow set. I had you where I wanted you now, pinned close and in my element. You stood your ground, checked my stealth with the faintest of finger tightenings, feather light, but enough to be going on with, slow dancing in a room with no windows. Was it then you glimpsed how it could be, my skittering heart no longer my own, familiar bearings scooped from under our feet and flung towards the moon? Part 2, on Nemo's Pier. And you all know Nemo's Pier, yeah, so you can imagine it. The shy knock of the cattlemen's boats. The current easy, the tide full in. Long walk and the stars mingling on the river's lustrous face. The world turned upside down, our lips tingling for more. At the pier's curved limit, great cubes of limestone offered shelter. The summer breeze skin salty, the corb's mouth wide open. The lighthouse blinked its warning over the deep breath heavings of the sea. And the last poem of the three, there are three connected, 1, 2, and 3. This is the last poem, and I'll finish with this. Undercut. There we were, on the Eyre ferry, out from Galway docks, churning through diesel fumes and sunshine between the Burns familiar blue hills and the low coast road. The place strangely transformed, like a dream country. We had never been on the bay before. At the cliffs, we bellied across great fissured slabs to the open yawn of sky and sea, felt the giddy tug, gulls and light cartwheeling, the swell hunching far below. Huge stone shelves undercut, and all about the evidence of sudden collapse. I felt you shudder. A cloud veiled the sun. We can't depend on it, you whispered. Your hand squeezed mine. I drew you back, crab crawling. Did you mean the overhang? I was not sure what to say. We kissed, I remember, but it was a long time before you spoke. Thank you very much.
Gerry Hanberry, ladies and gentlemen, and this is his book, What Our Shoes Say About Us. And I'm going to hide mine now.